you should get a job or go try your own thing. Like, the thing you really need to figure out is, do you prefer security or do you prefer freedom? I realized that 100% I prefer the freedom over the security. If I fail with business, fine. It's my responsibility and my fault. If I fail with a job, like, probably it's my fault, but it might not be. It might just be that the business happens to do badly. Maybe they let you off because the economy is doing badly. I never wanted to have one single entity have this kind of power over me. What I would recommend for most people is having a job. Do get a job as a software developer if coding is the thing that you want to do. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, then on the side, you can be building something. Like 9 to 5, you work for a company, then from 5 to 9, you build your own app. But the second lesson I learned is that nope. Get a job or go try your own thing. Like, the thing you really need to figure out is, do you prefer security or do you prefer freedom? I realized that 100% I prefer the freedom over the security. If I fail with business, fine. It's my responsibility and my fault. If I fail with a job, like, probably it's my fault, but it might not be. It might just be that the business happens to do badly. Maybe they let you off because the economy is doing badly. I never wanted to have one single entity have this kind of power over me. What I would recommend for most people is having a job. Do get a job as a software developer if coding is the thing that you want to do. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, then on the side, you can be building something. Like 9 to 5, you work for a company, then from 5 to 9, you build your own app. But the second lesson I learned is that I don't dream of employment. People always talk about this concept of the dream job. And I thought to myself, and again in my previous videos, I was always like, I now have my dream job as a software developer. But this is another thing where I was really wrong. I don't have a dream job. I have a dream life, but any kind of employment is probably not gonna take me there. Okay, so obviously both of these two things that I've talked about so far were things that I was already realizing like much before I already left. So that the question is, why did I not leave earlier? Like, if like after 2 months of my job, I already realized that, okay, this isn't really exactly what I wanted, and I already had my YouTube thing going, why did I not quit earlier? It was like a blocker in my mind that was preventing me from making this decision earlier. And the thing that got me through that was the third lesson that I learned. In my mind, because I'm very risk averse, and because my entire family, they all like work traditional jobs and they're all very like about security. For example, when I moved out of Finland to study in the UK in a university, my parents were like, oh my God, like, why are you moving to a different country? What if this, what if that? So I always had this background of like being secure, like having as much security. And despite the realizing like in my mind that I preferred the freedom over the security, that still wasn't enough to like convince my stupid brain to make the move earlier. Because I had this idea that going out there and doing my own thing was risky. What if my apps fail? What if I get cancelled on YouTube, and then like what am I gonna do? But then there were two critical moments, like two critical realizations that sort of allowed me to get through this. The first was when I went on holiday. I remember I went to Switzerland and I went to Italy, and basically it was a week-long holiday. I took time off work, which is like such a hassle to like get holidays approved. I had to send like so many emails, get it approved by like this partner and this manager and all of that. Like, first of all, the whole process of like I needed to ask this permission from all of these people just to take a holiday. It was like, this is not the kind of life that I'm about. And then during that holiday, I realized just how much mental space, just how much more mental energy I had now that I didn't have to think about work, didn't have to think about my morning stand-up, didn't have to think about the freaking colleagues that I was slacking with all day. And because I now had this contrast of having been in my job and now essentially being free for like a week, I realized just how much I preferred the freedom of like just working on making my videos, just working on my own projects. And that was the first thing that started getting me to the point like, okay, I need to figure out a way where I can do this full time, because I cannot have this like sort of chain on me at all times. And so the second thing that finally got me over the hump was just like this one random night. I remember I was walking home from the gym. It was a cold, like dark evening. I was just walking, and just randomly I just got the thought that let me just just for the sake of argument, let me just think about what would be the worst possible thing that could happen if I make the move, or if I leave my job and go do my own thing. What's the worst possible thing that can happen? And I realized, as simple as this is gonna sound, if everything fails, I can literally just go get a job again. I can, like, with my CV, with my skills of getting interviews and with my skills in interviews, like trust me, I know how to get an interview to hire me. If everything fails, like I'm probably gonna have enough money to like survive at least for like 2 years. So if literally within 2 years I never figure out a different business and I'm never able to start a new YouTube channel that grows, and never figure out anything, at the end of it I can literally just get a job. Like, very simple, but for some reason my stupid mind wasn't realizing this earlier. So the third lesson I realized, that especially in my situation where I already have this YouTube business that is literally making more than enough money, like it's making like 5 times what my salary was anyway. It literally made no financial sense for me to keep having my job anyway, especially in this situation. Taking the risk of going out there and like trying to pursue my dream life and the thing that I actually want to do really wasn't a risk at all, because I knew that I always have the opportunity to just go back to the life that I had before if everything falls over. And that was finally the thing that made me realize that, damn, it actually makes no sense for me to stay in the job. And so here I am. So essentially the things that I'm doing right now is that this YouTube business that I have is like the cash flow business I have right now. So I have the YouTube AdSense, which I get from the ads that show up on these videos, like this one, for example. I have the affiliate. So for example, you know that I talk a lot about Zero to Mastery, which is like this course platform with like these amazing coding courses that I myself been pretty much doing throughout my entire learning the code journey. I have an affiliate relationship with them where whenever someone signs up via my affiliate link, you get a 10% discount code if you use my discount code down below. Go check it out. A similar affiliate relationship with Coursera. Again, links to some popular courses down below. Go check them out. And obviously direct sponsorships that, you know, brands pay me directly to be featured in one of my videos, and then I make money from it. And then now I'm also selling my own courses, like my Python fundamentals course, which you can check out down below in the description. I just keep plugging everything now. So all of these things are how I'm making money right now to like
हेलो जी, सवाल है कि क्यों?
Throne Liberty has been on everyone's radar since we saw the most epic trailer showing actual gameplay footage and epic large-scale combat for both PvE and PvP. In this video, I want to discuss my thoughts on what we're calling fluid combat versus what we're also calling static combat. So just a quick thank you to everyone who watched my last Throne and Liberty video. You guys left some great comments, which ultimately led to some great discussions, which has ultimately led to me creating this video here to discuss actually the difference between static combat and fluid combat and what my personal experience is. So a quick background of where my personal experience and feelings are coming from. I started my MMO journey in Guild Wars 1, which I think started around 2005 or 2006, basically whenever it came out. Then I played that until Guild Wars 2 came out in 2012, and between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, that's basically been my MMO fix, and in between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 came out. Then I played that until Guild Wars 2 came out in 2012, and between Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2, that's basically been my MMO fix, and in between Guild Wars 1 I played loads of other games as well. So that was the days of, I enjoyed a little bit of WoW, Medal of Honor, Allied Assault, Battlefield 1942, Call of Duty, etc. So Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2 has been my main MMO journey essentially. Guild Wars 1 had what we are calling static combat, where you essentially approach a player or a mob, and when when you attack that player or mob, your character stands still, so you attack on the spot essentially. And let me tell you, my memories of Guild Wars 1, they are nothing but absolutely amazing. This game, honestly, it sounds a bit cringe, I guess. It has a place in my heart, man. When I think about Guild Wars 1, I think, oh my god, those were the glory days. Then after some time, obviously playing lots and lots of Guild Wars 1 with our henchmen and lots of other games in between, Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, blah blah blah, Guild Wars 2 was released, and in Guild Wars 2 was released with what I'm calling fluid combat. You're essentially able to attack while moving. This game captured me. I don't know what it was, but this game captured me. This game basically gave me what I personally was looking for in a game back then. Large scale PvP combat, exciting adventures like through the world of Tyria. On top of that, we had these insane open world bosses with hundreds of players, which were truly epic. Now, of course, every game comes with its problems, but onto the present day, where we've recently seen the launch of New World with its action combat, which I think gave people that next stage of combat. So there's potentially like a little bit of timeline here. We've gone from static combat to fluid combat to action combat in MMOs, but obviously we won't get into the details of why this game has completely dropped its player base. A lot of you guys will know I've covered New World since its launch, and I've played it since its launch, so we won't dive into that too much right now. There's lots of details outside of the action combat, which is why New World has failed, but the action combat in New World was genuinely good fun, and it still is good fun today. But I think this is where Throne and Liberty comes in. Now, the trailer did actually show static combat if you go back and pay attention. So we've got what they were promoting us, but the trailer also, in my opinion, felt like there was a lot of movement with hundreds of players charging at each other in large-scale combat, and the feeling the trailer gave, the action and the combat and the feeling of playing felt a lot more fluid than what people got when they tried the recent beta. And I think this is where a lot of the disappointment comes from, because I think a lot of people expected either some sort of action or some sort of fluid combat, not this combat that we've seen back in Guild Wars 1 18 years ago or whatever it was at this point. So onto the topic, fluid combat versus static combat. So a lot of you guys in the previous video commented saying one of the reasons static combat has worked so well was because in Lineage 2 it allowed for the largest PvP battles I think we've ever seen. And I think people who have played L2 and have had good memories in Lineage 2 want to see that again in Throne and Liberty. So I think we can essentially dub Throne and Liberty as Lineage 3, right? You know, it's the continuation on in the series with updated graphics, updated systems, and so on and so forth. But with the Lineage 2 combat at its core, which has worked so well in the past, obviously if you dive deep into how much money they've made, they have made a shed ton of money. However, if we think about what Guild Wars 2 was able to do about 10 years ago with their large-scale fluid combat. Now, I know this isn't as large as Lineage 2, but Guild Wars 2 did have large-scale combat. People have gotten used to having more control over their characters rather than being locked in one place. That's coming from my personal experience, and I think a lot of other people, obviously playing other types of genres and other types of games, have a similar feeling where, you know, when you use your sword skill, use just a single left-click attack, you want to be able to move your character slightly so you feel like you've got a little bit more control. So this has kind of been the discussion. So having a static combat system allows for extra large battles, and then having like an action combat, as we've seen for example in New World, is breaking combat. You know, you all remember the wars at the start. Shambles, right? But then we have this fluid combat, or dubbing fluid combat in the middle, which we saw in Guild Wars 2, and I think people would like to see what we experienced in Guild Wars 2, what we experienced in New World, and what we've experienced in Lineage 2 in one big MMO. Now, I don't know if that's possible, but I think that's what people were and are expecting in the next MMO. Now, my feeling is that static combat did have a place and does have a place, but that was about 15 years ago. So given what's possible, given what we've seen in Guild Wars, I'd love to see the large-scale epicness of Lineage 2 battles combined with the fluidness of Guild Wars 2 combat to create basically this large MMORPG that we could all play, you know, our forever MMO, potentially. Or maybe those who enjoyed Lineage 2 can play Throne and Liberty, and those who want more of a fluid combat, shut up and wait for, I don't know, Guild Wars 3, if it ever comes out. Now, honestly, I'd love to hear your feelings on this topic. It's a big topic around Throne and Liberty. I am definitely on the fence, you know. Let Throne and Liberty do its thing. Wait for the next, you know, MMO that has this fluid combat. But I'd also love to see, because Throne and Liberty has what we want. You know, it has these large-scale battles. It has these epic castle sieges. It has these epic open world bosses. It has what so many of us want. We just don't want the autoplay, and we don't want the static combat. Most of us. Now, obviously, there is a place for it, and that runs back to what I've just recently said. Let TNL be its thing. Wait for Guild Wars 3. But I'd love to hear your opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Obviously, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.
At last, bigoted fairy tales that have existed longer than many of us have been alive are
The day before. You know, it's about time we talked about this title, man. Are you aware that this title is the most wish-listed game on Steam ever? Of course, that was until the game got taken off the Steam store, but we'll get to that later. This game has generated so much hype off one trailer alone. It's actually crazy, but here's the thing. The game's been delayed twice since then. Now, while the day before might seem like the next big zombie multiplayer survival game, you got it all wrong. You got it all wrong. This game is the definition of red flag, okay? When you search up red flag in Google search, this is the first thing that pops up. This game is fraudulent. More fraudulent than Ben Simmons' career in the NBA. And by the end of this video, you'll completely understand why this game will fail days before it even comes out. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? I'm Trey. Welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Guys, we are almost at 20k subscribers. So close, I can taste it. If you guys do enjoy this video, make sure to sub down below. And if you watch me a lot but you're not subbed, press that red button right now. We're so close, boys. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The day before is coming out soon, okay? It might seem like something in the future, but it's extremely soon. In fact, November 10th is the release date. That's about 3.5 months away. So, you know, the official trailer that they dropped should be able to give us a sense of what the game's like, right? Let's check it out. What the fuck was that? Our first red flag. What the fuck was that? They revealed fucking nothing to represent the game. That is their official trailer? I could have put a Forza logo over that and you would have believed me. What a great way to show that you're confident in your title. Release a 30-second trailer of nothing. Now, when the day before first revealed the trailer like years ago, that showed off all this amazing scenery and all these graphics, first thing that came to my head was ambitious. This game looks like a limit pusher. This looks like a next-gen title. And while that's exciting in a trailer format, in actual gameplay, there is no fucking way this game is achieving this success. Now, when they revealed this gameplay for the first time, it looked fantastic. Peak, even. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how good this game would be if it actually looked like this when it came out. The recoil looks crazy realistic, and the ragdoll effects with the zombies, man, I dropped 200 on a game like this. Then we got more gameplay from apparently the same build, and somehow this looks nothing like the original footage that we saw. This is a completely different game. And this was my face when I realized that I had been bamboozled. Like, look at this footage right here of this guy walking. Do you really believe that the game is gonna look like this? I suppose if you have a spare quantum PC in your basement. These are red flags everywhere. Fake reveals. visuals, fake gameplay. It's hard to trust anything that they're showing us. One of the major delays for the game occurred because the development team was transferring the game from Unreal Engine 4 to 5. So even though the developers had previously announced that they had overhauled the graphics, they went ahead again and overhauled the entire engine and the graphics again. Which brings me to the main point, which I'm really worried about. The Day Before in its early stages really wanted to be focused on gameplay and being a full zombie experience. But as this development has progressed, as the development studios heard the hype and all the love for the game, it seems like they've shifted focus almost to solely graphics and visual. Like all these overhauls that they've made, just these graphics being kind of insane in the first place, and then them releasing a trailer of someone driving a car for no reason. But I think this was really just a way to show off their visuals again. In the development trailer, most of it was just them showing us how they overhauled the graphics entirely again. At some point, you do have to say, let's relax on the visuals and actually make gameplay. It feels like this game's just trying to be pretty instead of having real substance. Like, why isn't there more real gameplay that isn't scripted 3 months out from release? Are they hiding some big surprise, or are they trying to cover their failures?
Oh, of course not.
Something about these guys is just sketch, bro. I don't know. Now, some people don't even believe this game exists, okay? Some people believe that this shit is just a front, a money laundering scheme. Mostly because the last delay this game had was a trademark issue. Apparently, they didn't have full control over the name The Day Before. But isn't that a little bit sketch, right? I mean, this game's been in development for probably more than 5 years, and the title's been locked in. How are they only now figuring out that they have legal issues? Isn't one of the first things you do before you even start developing a game is secure the title? Maybe that's a good idea? The game does exist, but it's clear to anybody with a nose that something is fishy. Force Gaming had pointed out how in the gameplay they showed, the muzzle flashes are actually PNGs that are just appearing when you shoot instead of actual animated flashes. Is that really the gameplay they want to show less than 8 months before release? By the way, just for some reference, the company that develops this game, Fantastic, their most expansive game they've ever developed is Prop Night, which is an arcade mini game. And now they have to handle the most wishlisted and overhyped game on Steam of all time. If this game isn't a complete lie at launch, I can assure you it'll at least be a buggy shit show. Now, besides that, man, The Day Before is actually a dream game for me. I love zombie games, and it's a zombie survival game that has crafting, base building, cars, guns. This is my shit I eat up, bro. But how can I possibly get excited for this game when they won't even drop me real gameplay 3 months out from release? Game's been delayed twice, graphics look impossible to run, and almost no communication from the dev team. While I'd love to go into details about specific gameplay elements and shit, there is no gameplay to go over, just a driving sequence as their primary trailer. Trusting this game to be successful is like trusting a hooker behind a gas station with your credit card. You're gonna be disappointed, and you're not getting your money back. Guys, I hope you did enjoy this video about The Day Before, and how just a quick glance of the facts can give you everything you need to know about this game's future. I cannot wait to see what the fuck happens here, because this could either be the best game of all time, or it can be one of the funniest fails of all time, and we'll know in a couple months here. Guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. As always, I'm Treylo, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
All right. Okay. Oh, you're so cute. Get your tail out of my face. I feel like I'm about to start a YouTuber apology or something. So there's a new game out that I've been kind of dabbling with the last few days called Star Siege Dead Zone. You want to go down? Okay. Also, new kitty in the house. Her name is Echo, and she's a cutie. Star Siege Dead Zone is a brand new extraction shooter that a lot of people have been asking me to cover, but it's got a little bit of a unique twist in the fact that it is a corridor extraction shooter. And in this game, you're not boots on the ground. You're actually up in space, moving throughout different space stations, looking for loot, killing other players, killing the AI, which are called cybrids. And the best part about this game is it's free to play. I've been able to put quite a few hours into the game here over the last, I would say, 3 or 4 days. And I want to give you guys my thoughts on everything Star Siege, because I have had a lot of people reach out and ask my opinion. So if you guys end up liking the video, leave a like on it down below. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'm noticing that just over 50% of you guys aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you enjoy the content and you're one of those people who keep coming back but you aren't subscribed, hit that sub button. My next milestone that we're pushing for is 500,000 subscribers, and I think we can get there. Anyways, guys, my name is Big Fry. Let's talk Star Siege. Star Siege Dead Zone is a corridor extraction shooter set on procedurally generated space stations filled with laser beam traps, a small variety of AI enemies, tons of crates to loot, and other players looking to score. As you move through the stations, they're actually exploding and destroying themselves on the outside, making certain paths closed off, and you have to adjust on the fly. The game offers you the ability to shoot out lights, you can create darkness, you can stalk around, but I do find this a little bit useless as every player starting out has two abilities, one being a wall hack that just kind of shows you where the enemies are for a few moments. Your objective ultimately is to escape on an escape pod that shows up randomly throughout the match. But the kicker here is that there's only enough pods for half the players in a game, so you need to move around and find one before it's too late. And if you're going in with a group, that makes this task a whole lot harder. The game's premise is actually pretty sound, but the overall experience for me has been very mixed. The game has a lot going for it. You have merchants to sell and buy gear from, contracts, and things to actually do and achieve within a raid. This actually feels like a cross between the cycle in terms of the contracts, the missions, and the merchants, and Marauders in terms of being out in space, close quarters battles within stations. And I actually think Star Siege does all of those things better than those games, but the actual gunplay itself is far inferior. It just feels so stiff and dated. Hit reg is very inconsistent, and sometimes I'm pumping a player with bullets and they still pull out the win. Sometimes it feels good, other times it's borderline terrible, and for me, when it comes to extraction shooters where there's a lot of risk on the table, that inconsistency can kill the game for me. The AI enemies are there as an annoyance more than anything. The melee enemies do nothing but run towards you and die, and the ones that shoot you, they aim as if they were playing on a joystick. They are there strictly to piss you off during a gunfight with another real player, and that's just not fun for me. As you level up, you can unlock higher tier gear, better armor pieces, rare and exotic rifles, and they can be game-changing when you finally unlock them. The problem that Star Siege runs into is there isn't a big enough player pool to spread out these levels and matchmake properly. So if you're just starting out, you're most likely going against people with better armor and weapons, and you just kind of have to eat shit until you level up enough, which in my opinion doesn't make for a good PvP experience. And I know there will be people saying, but Tarkov's like that. But the thing with Tarkov is even if you have a little AK and nothing else, you can still take down a scab, you can loot them, and a single headshot is enough to take down a player sometimes. In Star Siege, it's not even close. The time to kill is long, and when you're going up against someone with better armor and weapons, well, it's kind of just like tough luck, I guess. Combine that with the aforementioned hit reg issues, the whole gunfight experience is just kind of shit. Now, my biggest complaint with the game is such a petty one on the surface, but once you actually get into the game and you feel it for yourself, you realize just how fucked it is. In order to interact with things, you have to look at the button of a door and you have to hit F, and you have to be looking at the door. If you look away from the button, the door doesn't open, you have to start from scratch. This also happens with escape pods, meaning if you activate an escape pod, you have to keep looking at it as it kind of spawns and appears to you. So if there's a player shooting at you and you're trying to make a quick escape, you can't defend yourself. If you need to close a door behind you because there's a team of 3 coming at you from behind, you have to look at the door. You can't aim at the door. You can't do anything. Just let us interact with whatever it is that we're interacting with. Say it's an escape pod or a door, and then let us actually just hit F and then aim around. Let us move so we can actively defend ourselves in these close quarters engagements. It sounds like such a petty thing, but when you have moments like this... Hello, come this way. Come this way. Fall back.
Oh shit. He's shooting at me. He's shooting at me. Oh god. I'm gonna die.
I'm gonna fucking die here too. Activate the next pod. They're coming. They're coming.
Oh
No,
I died.
fuck, I died too. Oh, I hate that you have to look at the fucking thing, man.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Oh, it gets so frustrating. Now, the game is in early access, and I do feel like a lot of the things that I'm talking about are fixable. It's just a matter of how long can the game survive before these issues are ironed out and fixed. With an all-time peak of 2,800 players, I'm not so confident. They anticipate that the game's going to be in early access for approximately 12 to 18 months, but they also say that that's just an estimate. The ultimate goal is to ensure that the final game delivers a compelling, enjoyable, and polished experience. And what that includes are things like a trading and auction house system for players, private lobbies for matches, esports, whatever that means, community tournaments, more cosmetics, more maps, weapons, and perks, better PvE AI, so clearly that's on the table, seasonal wipes and content every 3 months, as well as cross-play. And I would say right now, this is a very viable alpha build that has a lot of issues. If you're jumping in expecting a polished experience, you're just not going to get it. And while that's okay, again, it goes back to how long can they last with this amount of players and what's the future of this game actually look like. Now, the game is free to play, so you guys can try it for yourself, but for the ones asking me if I recommend playing it, my answer is just kind of a little bit in the middle. There are some fun moments when the gunfights feel really good, and there are others when I just want to uninstall. So it's a matter of, are you looking for something that feels a little early but fresh compared to what's out there now? And if your answer is yes, well, shit, download it and see for yourself. I'm always a fan of developers who utilize things like procedural generation for their levels because it keeps things fresh. And the fact that there is a bunch of different weapons, a bunch of different upgrades, and a lot of things that you can level up for your character means you probably could get a decent amount of time out of this game if you can get through some of the bullshit that comes along with playing an alpha build. I'm in the middle with this because I want to recommend it, but I also could understand why somebody doesn't want to play something like this. I can see both sides of the coin here, and that's why I'm kind of just like on the fence with this one. If there was an upfront price for this, I would definitely not recommend it. But the fact that it is free to play and there are a lot of systems that can give you a decent amount of time out of the game, try it out for yourself. My name is Big Fried. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed it, leave a like on it and subscribe for everything FPS. And I'll see you on the next one.
Do not let your death be for nothing.
Nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 808,000 practitioners of common sense and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. It looks like those Hollywood culture winds of change are a-blowing. Can you feel it? And this time, I don't think it's broken wind. Well, it's hard not to notice considering that Hollywood just completely shut down. Now, you might have forgotten that the writers have been on strike for almost 3 months, but not to be upstaged, the Film Actors Guild has decided to stop pretending professionally.
No contract, no fee!
And the poor writers can't catch a break because apparently the actors need more attention.
We are the victims here. We are being victimized.
Hollywood is closed for business. What will we do? It's been 3 months without late night television, no Jimmys, no Stephen Colbert, with bangers like this.
There was Alpha, then Delta, then Omicron X, but this latest variant might be the best. It's XBB.1.5.
I would like to remind you, dear viewer, that it took teams of highly paid writers to come up with that stuff.
These are our writers, and I'll stick myself in there because I'm WGA too, and they're so important to our show. They write the monologue, the meanwhile, the cold open, and without these people, this show would be called
A Better World.
And I'd also like to remind you that over the past 3 months, we will have been robbed of what I'm sure will be Shakespearean dialogue like this.
Stop! I'm trying to be whatever this is.
I don't know what to be. Tell me what to be.
I don't know, just don't be a dick.
It's too late. Look at me. I'm such a dick.
It's never too late to stop being a dick.
Give me some of the pain and let me die.
That's right, the pencils are down, the laptops are unplugged, and there's no access to ChatGPT. Yes, the very thing that they're striking against, the writers use when they have that thing called writer's block or no talent at all.
Every day there's some news story about AI, and there's no doubt that those services will continue to improve. And right now, as some of our members call them, they're plagiarism machines, and they have no business in the writing of scripts.
It smells like cat piss.
And now joining them in resolute solidarity is the over 160,000 members of the Film Actors Guild. And now we live in a world with no professional pretending. That's right, no pretending on television, no pretending in film, no pretending to be interested in a cause to help promote their film or TV show. No pretending at award shows. No pretending to be interested in one of the 50 interviewers they have to talk to on a press junket. And no pretending on red carpets. And the last two are going to have the unintended consequences of probably helping their film, while simultaneously being bad news for content creators because we're going to be deprived of wisdom like this.
I remember when I was doing Hunger Games, nobody had ever put a woman in the lead of an action movie. Girls and boys can both identify with a male lead. The boys cannot identify with a female lead. Oh, you bitch!
Labor strife is nothing new in Hollywood. As I stated in my last strike video, something feels different this time. Sure, during COVID, Hollywood went all in on streaming because all of their platforms were ready. What a coincidence. While they abandoned the movie theaters. Not to worry though, because the taxpayer was there to bail the movie theaters out. Also, Hollywood could abandon them again. We'll get to that. Then the streaming bubble blew up in their face, leading to a financial collapse. Now, I'm not sure how you have a financial collapse when you're not making any money, but that's what happened. Maybe it's just a giant shell game. Now, we have heard that Disney and Warner Brothers may have been fudging their numbers, and I guarantee you the rest do it too. Then there's the problem of the actual content that they put on these platforms, including but not limited to Santa Inc., Velma, Willow, The Wheel of Time, Peter Pan, Cuties, anything from the MCU and anything from Lucasfilm. Then there's all the flops. This is from The Guardian, not exactly the citadel of journalism, but I like this headline. Some are flopbusters. Why were Indiana Jones and The Flash box office bombs? Well, probably because they suck. Why did they suck? Simply put, overproduced by producers from Hollywood and poorly written by members of the Writers Guild of America.
If the Writers Guild wasn't such an obnoxious organization, it's the Whiners Guild, I call it. But I'm very anti-Writers Guild, but very.
And specifically in The Flash and Indiana Jones case, featuring two annoying actors from the Film Actors Guild. What was that, Garrett? Oh, I'm sorry, the Screen Actors Guild. So there was the aforementioned flops on streaming, and now we have a lot of them in the theaters, including, but not limited to, Ant-Man, Dungeons & Dragons, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, The Little Mermaid, Elemental, The Flash, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dysentery. So sure, it's a perfect time to strike. Now, there have been Hollywood strikes during economic downturns in the past. The last one was during the recession. What past strikes in Hollywood didn't have was potentially you and I as competition, or even worse, an adversary, and a culture war. A culture war Disney CEO Bobby Iger said he didn't want any part of, and then he follows that up by trying to put out fire with gasoline.
What about DeSantis, who's going to be on the hustings, so to speak, for the next year? And he's made this a part of his campaign, attacking Disney, saying it's a woke corporation. We put the company on a pedestal, but they've really embraced the idea of getting the sexualized content in the program line that I'm not willing to cross. I mean, that's what he said. I quoted DeSantis there.
It's not our goal to be involved in a culture war. Our goal is to continue to tell wonderful stories and have a positive impact on the world. The notion that Disney is in any way sexualizing children, quite frankly, is preposterous. And inaccurate.
Welcome to the Disney Plus. This is me, Pride Celebration Spectacular.
Texted me this morning. You know, Gen Z is 30 to 40% queer than the other generation's mom, so Disney better get with it.
Our leadership over there has been so welcoming to my not at all secret gay agenda.
They've been really open to exploring queer stories. I'm on the production side, and so kind of the only way to have these canonical trans characters, canonical asexual characters, canonical bisexual characters is to give them stories where they can be their whole selves.
I identify as a biromantic asexual. I want to add the pockets of the LGBTQ community that you don't see. I was I want to get gay advanced.
And so we no longer say ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's hello everyone or hello friends.
We were targeting Gen Z and millennials. We were targeting a younger.
And all this content's going to kids who don't know any of this, and even if they're in a household like Keith that have supportive parents, they're still getting all of this information from media of what is normal.
My fellow members of the audience, whether you're for Ron DeSantis or not, which really doesn't matter to me, all are welcome here. You can't deny that is a pretty good clip. Couldn't have done it better myself. It's been a perfect storm and a complete disaster for Hollywood, and the strikes, with some legit concerns, have made things so much worse. Have we achieved peak television? Possibly. Peak streaming? Maybe. Peak Hollywood blockbuster, that remains to be seen, but the one thing I know we have achieved is peak woke Hollywood. I have no dog in this fight. I am certainly no fan of Hollywood executives or producers, although I have talked to a few cool ones, but I know the vast majority would screw over their own mother. And as far as the Film Actors Guild is concerned, I'm sorry, the Screen Actors Guild, I believe Hollywood actor Matthew Marsden puts it best. If the majority of Hollywood actors hadn't been so derisive about half of the country, people might give a damn about them going on strike.
Lots of famous people.
Lots and lots of famous people.
Just a shit ton of famous people.
But you only get this many famous people together if the issue's
One that truly matters to all of us.
A disease or
ecological crisis or
A racist, abusive coward who could permanently damage the fabric of our society.
Do the math. Do we really want to give nuclear weapons to a man whose signature move is firing?
Firing things?
Another.
So, we don't let those criminal bastards get backing off and you're going, whoa! You're like, no, don't say the last part. You lost 50% of your audience. And that's, part of why so much of the nation of that 50% looks at us in Hollywood as like going, oh yeah, another celebrity over there on the West Coasters and the elite in the Northeast. And that's what y'all say, because even from just a sales point of view, don't have that gotcha on the end, and then you have your audience is twice as big.
You know, you wish there would have been this kind of solidarity when the Screen Actors Guild members were forced to get a jab. To be fair to SAG President Fran Drescher, she said she wanted to strike over that, but couldn't, and SAG didn't. So after years of hearing that certain films weren't made for us that used to be, and when we don't see them or don't like them, the audience gets vilified, and after years of seeing stories we used to all love get destroyed beyond all recognition, again including but not limited to Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars, Marvel Comics, DC Comics, I could go on, and expressing we really didn't like what you did to Luke Skywalker or Spock or Galadriel, we were called racist, sexist, and any other pejorative you could think of. Oh, I am not done. And after years of being told classic stories like The Lord of the Rings weren't accessible, despite being one of the best-selling books of all time, translated into multiple languages and adapted into the greatest trilogy of all time, earning billions at the box office worldwide, a classic that will never be equaled, and again, it's not limited to Lord of the Rings. We have two recent examples, Little Mermaid and Snow White. Remember that little thing I said about timing being everything? Well, this news dropped 2 days after SAG decided to go on strike. Exclusive. Snow White and the Seven Politically Correct Companions. First pictures of new live-action remake of Disney classic shows stand-in princess walking with diverse band of merry men and women after row over using dwarf actors. And yes, those pictures look awful, but that's not the worst thing. Yes, they are stand-ins, but that is an accurate representation of what this film is going to be, and they're going to release it in theaters. And I see this picture, and for one, I can smell it from here, and it's precisely the reason I don't go to Burning Man. At first, Disney denied these were real, and then they had to come out and admit that they were. But that's not the worst part. In response to this, Snow White actress Renee Zegler then unintentionally destroys the entire representation argument. Extremely appreciative of the love I feel from those defending me online, but please don't tag me in the nonsensical discourse about my casting. I really, truly do not want to see it. So I leave you with these photos. I hope every child knows that they can be a princess no matter what. I hope you meant girl, and if you did, then I absolutely agree with you. Hollywood, you're gonna have to understand why the audience is feeling a bit apathetic, and you're gonna have to accept that we're in the decline of the movie star, and that started coincidentally with the advent of social media.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
You know what I was saying to my friend? I go, you know what that is? These motherfuckers haven't gotten any attention for months because they haven't been filmed.
And this has all led to a giant cluster of the likes Hollywood has never seen.
What are we doing? Moving around furniture on the Titanic?
These conditions will potentially produce an absolute collapse of an entire industry.
There's way too many moving parts right now, too many greedy and it's collapsing the entire industry. What the hell was that? Was my shell.
Oh my god! Collapsing the entire industry! Oh no!
This is Hollywood, everybody!
everybody.
The higher power works in mysterious ways and has perfect comedic timing. Now, I'm not saying that the writers and actors, the good ones anyway, don't have some very legitimate concerns, including AI.
Obviously, AI, which I think is just overhyped to death in terms of the worries that actors and writers are going to be replaced rather than assisted, which is what I think will happen.
And while AI right now is essentially a search algorithm and not a very accurate one, I think it's a good idea to get out ahead of it, although I think it's something a writer or an actor could deal with in an individual negotiation. Hey, I have an example of AI. I asked ChatGPT to write a nerdrotic video about the Hollywood strike, and this is what they came up with. Cut to dramatic background music as images of picket signs and protesting Hollywood workers flash on the screen. Gary, voiceover. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is this Hollywood strike all about? Well, my fellow geeks, it's a battle for the ages. The creative minds behind the camera, the unsung heroes who make our favorite shows and movies come to life, have risen up against the studio titans, demanding fair treatment and respect for their invaluable contributions. Cut to Gary back in his chair. Gary, these are the writers, the directors, the animators, the costume designers, the set builders, and countless others who work tirelessly behind the scenes, often without proper recognition. They're the ones who bring magic to our screen, but unfortunately, they're being subjugated to a system that has taken advantage of their passion and dedication for far too long. So no. Basically, I don't think there's anything to worry about right now, at least until the robots come to kill us all, and by then it'll be too late anyway. All sarcasm aside, there is one issue I am completely on the side of the writers and the actors: studio transparency.
We just want transparency. I mean, you know, tell us what you're making, and if you're making less, okay, we'll share in your pain just like we share in your profit. But they're not offering any of that. We're gonna shut you out, not tell you anything about how much money we're making, and then we'll say, hey, we're poor. It's you know, we're not making enough money. It's ridiculous.
Now, I might be in agreement with the WGA and the SAG for different reasons, but sure, I want them to get paid, and I really want to see those numbers.
I can promise you that when a streamer like Netflix says we're not going to release our numbers, it's because they're screwing someone over somewhere. That's why they do it.
I agree with Sean Gunn. I absolutely think they're screwing somebody over, but you still might want to file this under don't ask questions you don't want to know the answers to. I think one of the reasons they don't share the numbers is because they're incredibly low. Otherwise, they would. And yes, they are screwing somebody over, the stockholder. You know who else is getting screwed over? All the non-union workers in Hollywood attached to that industry, and the theaters. I'll give credit where credit is due. Tom Cruise, the last Hollywood movie star who was in a pretty damn good movie, Mission Impossible 7, go see it. Tom did try to lobby the SAG to allow actors to still promote their films even during the strike. He reportedly spoke of the precarious state of movie theaters, which are struggling to rebound after COVID, and that promoting films also benefits actors. Well, as the people who make up the pretend and the people who act out the pretend fight the people who pay for the pretend during the summer of the flopbuster and peak television, all squabbling for money that quite frankly is drying up in Hollywood, what are we plebs to do? Well, I agree with actor Clifton Duncan here on Twitter. The worst thing about the Hollywood shutdown is that the only entertainment we have is podcasts, YouTube, video games, books, music, family, and 100 years of superior television and film. I would also like to add that Hollywood has put in their fair share of work turning the audience into the adversary. And that is the other unintended consequence of striking during a culture war, turning your paying customer into the competition.
There is now a completely different set of rules that goes into how we decide to be entertained and how we decide to pay for what that entertainment is. Because if you and I and everybody else in this room wanted to be entertained for free for the rest of the month, we could be, between YouTube and an app or anything else that is part of the social media. That's free. That means it does not cost us anything. Now, our desire, I think, as an audience is that we want to go off and be challenged by what we see, and so we go off and we'll try to do that.
But not to worry, I'm sure Hollywood has plenty of content to get them through what is their second shutdown in almost 4 years. To be fair, Barbie and Oppenheimer had great openings. Congratulations, Hollywood. Enjoy what may be the last big box office weekend for a very, very long time. Eventually, the WGA and the SAG will work it out, but by the time that they do, I think there's going to be a lot fewer of them. You call it a strike, I call it a purge. The woke party is over and we're way past the hangover stage. It's time for Hollywood to go to rehab. Entertainment as a whole is going through a paradigm shift, one that corporate Hollywood is too bloated to keep up with. Maybe Hollywood is just a tired 20th century old model that lingered through the 20th century, but then eventually couldn't adapt. They're already losing a generation. It's not like you see a ton of kids at movie theaters anymore. I leave you with the wise words of the late Douglas Adams, given in his last interview over 20 years ago, where he predicted what I believe is the paradigm shift that we're experiencing right now.
At the end of the 20th century, we came up with this exciting new buzzword, which is interactive. The interesting thing about the word interactive is that the 20th century is the only time we've actually needed such a word, because it's the only time we've been surrounded by non-interactive forms of communication and entertainment, like CDs, videos, cinema, radio, television, all that kind of stuff that however you react to it, it doesn't react to your reaction. Now you go back to the 19th century and any time in human history before then, and it was predominantly interactive. You'd perform to audiences and so on and so forth, and everybody was in touch with everybody else. So that's what we kind of lost in the 20th century, and effectively we can't do what we used to do simply because there are now so damn many of us. But what our technologies are beginning to do is put us back in touch with each other much more intimately in ways that we used to be, and that's what we've got to kind of readjust to.
If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I appreciate you listening this long. I will see you in the next video.
Nerderotic.com. Please subscribe.
Okay.
Oh, you're so cute. Get your tail out of my face. I feel like I'm about to start a YouTuber apology or something. So there's a new game out that I've been kind of dabbling with the last few days called Starseed.
Hunt them down! For the Alliance above all!
Locked and loaded.
Tremble before me. The battle begins in 10 seconds. 2, 1. To arms.
Choose a talent. Someone get over here. First shrine will be active soon. Steel yourselves, heroes. Rise stronger than before, hero. It is done. Activate the shrine, defeat its guardians, and the Punisher will be ours. A mortar Punisher has been summoned by the burning hells. The force of hell have no place here. Choose a talent. Well fought, heroes. We have slain the enemy's Punisher. Enemy slain. Don't let it go to your head. Keep fighting! Shrine's guardians and let loose the Punisher upon our foe. Be warned, a frozen Punisher has been set against us. We have cleansed these heavens of the demon's Punisher. Well timed.
Gotta love this medic.
Your spirit is strong, woman. Double kill. I thank you, healer. Our core is under attack. Our teammate needs help. Well timed intervention, friend. Choose a talent. A shrine is gathering power. The forces of evil are mighty, but so are we. Activate the shrine. Do not let our enemy claim the Punisher's power. The enemy is attacking our core. The enemy is attacking our core.